I'm going to tell a story about a family that I met on initial consultation based out of New Jersey. It was a dad and son. Actually, at the time, I had COVID, but I felt really bad about canceling my calls for that day. So I took a call with this family, and both dad and son were on the call. The student was a really ambitious 10th grade student. He was just in 10th grade, and he was already asking me about how should I structure the honors section of my comment application. I responded to him, that's a few years down the way. You're sort of getting ahead of yourself. Let's focus on developing your profile, thinking about the classes you're selecting, creating a passion project, building summer plans. Eventually, throughout that first conversation, family decided to enroll with Preppery. He started working with us. He started working on his passion projects, extracurricular activities. I built a really great relationship with the student. I'm not a coach. I don't do coaching, but I actually talk with this family pretty regularly. Dad would send me emails and just ask questions. Student had some questions about constructing his summer plan and his passion project. And for him, he was interested in business, but his weakness was that it didn't really come through in his extracurricular profile. He had the run-of-the-mill competitive public school business student profile, some DECA, FBLA, but nothing truly special. He was also interested in fintech specifically, which for high school students, you don't really get like a fintech 101 course, not offered at most high schools. And so for him, what we did is we thought about a passion project that gave him the opportunity to collaborate with real fintech experts in his community. He reached out to a bunch of fintech people in his space where they were maybe employees or co-founders of small and large fintech businesses, and started setting up informational interviews with every single one of these people, and actually transcribed his interviews into blogs of his webpage, sort of talking about everything that he learned from each person. And eventually this project grew. It became an organization at his high school. Through everything that he learned, he started building fintech curriculum that he was delivering through his project that he started at his high school to a bunch of other students that were also interested in fintech. Eventually became like an army of high school students doing fintech interviews and building fintech curriculum. Followed that kid through 10th grade, 11th grade. His project grew in 12th grade. And the student was actually admitted to Marshall School of Business at USC. It was such a happy moment seeing that kid go from anxious and ambitious 10th grade student to a really proud and excited graduating senior that had this like aha moment where he finally got into the school that we were just talking about a few years ago. And it's really scary how quickly it happened, because just yesterday he was that 10th grade student with questions about the honor section.
This past year, I had an initial consultation with a family based in New York. Their son attended Phillips Andover. Phenomenal school, obviously a very competitive environment. And I think the thinking was that because they enrolled him in this institution, that the preparation was strong enough that they didn't really need a college counselor, which I think makes sense on the surface. But what they didn't realize was that because it's such a hyper-competitive environment, virtually all the students have perfect grades, test scores, and strong extracurriculars. Like, that's the baseline. And because he didn't necessarily extend beyond that, it impacted his chances. When looking at his application, we realized that his essays really lacked luster. He didn't have quite a great personality that shined through in his essays. They kind of fell flat in many ways. We didn't learn about him or his values. And in working with us, I think what we were able to do this time around to correct that was work with him to think about who he is outside of academics and extracurriculars, what his story was, and tell that well on paper to communicate to these admissions committees why he wanted to transfer and why he'd be a good fit at the next institution.
All right, I want to tell you guys the story of a family that I met recently, and the reason why I love this conversation is in the initial consultation, I was able to provide really specific guidance on summer plans and also work with them to come up with a customized plan for her college admissions process before even enrolling with Preppery. So I met this family, two incredible parents from Southern California, really amazing daughter, great grades, athlete. And in the conversation, like you both know well, the parents were talking a lot in the beginning, expressing their desires for their daughter, who stayed pretty silent for a while. And at the top of their list were schools like Berkeley, all of the East Coast, top 10 schools. And so I listened and heard. It was really interesting. And then, of course, I wanted to hear more from the daughter. And so as I asked her about her desires, her goals, come to find out the daughter's also an incredible water polo player, and she wants to play water polo at Stanford. So the more I got to know this family and more I got to hear about her, the more I realized, okay, there's some big ambitions here and they were really struggling with how to translate that into what she should focus on the summer before senior year, traveling abroad to do some volunteer work or staying local to do an internship. And I was able in the consultation to provide some clear guidance based on the full profile that doing the internship would be the better call to strengthen her overall application. And then as we started speaking more, realized, okay, we actually here at Prep3 can support a lot of different goals and ambitions, including those of our students who want to focus on athletics at academic schools, maybe some D3 recruitment. We have this in-house specialty. And so being able to provide that confidence that we could support up to 15 applications, focus on the recruitment process and the steps she would need to do for that, as well as being a pre-med applicant for other top 10 schools, was just super reassuring for the family. They left, even if we had just ended that call and not enrolled with Prep3, I felt that they were leaving with a new perspective and clear next steps. They have since enrolled. We're working together on her overall application package right now, and I'm really excited to see where she ends up going to school next year.